The special pleading fallacy is a common informal fallacy that occurs when someone applies standards, principles, or rules to others while making themselves or their situation an exception without providing what is considered adequate justification. This tactic is often used to maintain a double standard or avoid the full implications of a rule or principle. The structure of a special pleading argument is as follows. Person A establishes a rule or principle, i.e. Rule X. Person B acknowledges Rule X, but claims an exception for themselves or a particular case, offering a justification. Then, Person B continues to hold others to Rule X while exempting themselves. The concept of adequacy is crucial in determining whether a special pleading fallacy is occurring. Adequacy refers to whether the justification provided for an exception is strong enough to be accepted as reasonable within the given context. What one person considers as adequate justification, another might view it as insufficient. This often depends on the standards of the community, the context of the discussion, or the rules being applied. Let's examine this example. Person A argues, all students should complete their assignments on time. But Person B responds with, but I had a busy weekend, so I should be allowed to submit mine late. Here, Person B is providing a justification. Whether this is special pleading depends on whether the busy weekend is seen as an adequate reason. If not, Person B's argument could be seen as special pleading. However, if such circumstances are accepted as valid exceptions within the context, it might not be. Here's some strategies to counter the special pleading fallacy. If someone claims an exception to a rule, ask them to explain their reasoning. By probing deeper, you can assess whether their justification is based on consistent principles or is merely an attempt to escape scrutiny. Secondly, engage in discussion about what constitutes an adequate justification in the given context. This helps clarify whether the exception is reasonable or falls into special pleading. Lastly, if the justification seems weak or arbitrary, point out the inconsistency in applying the rule differently to themselves than to others. Sometimes, people may misunderstand when special pleading is or isn't occurring. This often happens in these scenarios. Firstly, not all exceptions are fallacious. If there is a reason deemed valid by the relevant standards, it is not special pleading. For example, if Person A states all cars should have seatbelts, but if Person B responds with, but classic cars are built before seatbelt laws and shouldn't need to be retrofitted with them, Person B might argue that retrofitting classic cars could damage their historical value. Whether the justification is seen as adequate depends on the standards applied by the decision makers or the community involved. Secondly, special pleading occurs when the context is similar enough that the same rules should apply. If the context is generally different, it may not be special pleading. For example, if Person A states, everyone should work overtime if needed, but Person B responds with, except for part-time employees, because their contracts don't include overtime. Here, the adequacy of Person B's justification hinges on whether the contractual difference is viewed as a legitimate reason. This might depend on labor laws, company policies, or the perspectives of those involved. Overall, the special pleading fallacy occurs when someone seeks to exempt themselves from a rule or principle without providing a justification deemed adequate within the context. Understanding what counts as adequate justification is key to recognizing and addressing this fallacy in discussions.